I call her African, my African sister, and who always looks at my views as the same as hers. We are not far from each other in views, in analysis. My sister Bruna, thank you very much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have Miriam Ogutu. Miriam Ogutu is a senior presenter, a senior uh, editor, a senior uh, host, a senior, eh, everything for Punchline Africa TV, together with all its affiliates. Miriam is a great person who has done great job for our television station for a long time. Miriam Ogutu, take it away from me.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much, and thank you so much for the kind words there. So I'll just bring us up to date with the latest news headlines from across the continent of Africa. I'll start with the leading newspapers from Kenya. The Sunday Nation: police in plot to cover up deaths. The police will no longer release information on deaths, injuries, and damage to property arising from the ongoing anti-government protests by opposition supporters. This follows an order sent out by police headquarters to all regional commanders. When angry Ruto called IEBC boss over poll results, that is another headline we have there. A serialized book by former IEBC chairperson Isaac Hassan has captured that. And then the Sunday Standard, the main headline, the end game. The opposition is ramping up protest to push a raft of issues it hopes will ultimately constrain the Ruto administration and propel Azimio to presidency in 2027. That is what we have then revealed, how state lost 12 billion Kenya shillings in court awards. All right, and then we look at some newspapers from across the continent. We start with the Daily Trust from Nigeria. Buhari fails to fulfill campaign promises on poverty reduction and unemployment. This day, also from Nigeria, police arrest electoral fraud evidence in Rivers, free lawyers. The Nation, still from Nigeria, presidential poll why INEC did not suspend a collation of results. Commission may report some REOCs to Buhari for sanctions, and man in DSS net after threatening to import IPOB into Lagos. And then the daily news from Zimbabwe, the daily news on Sunday, Zimbabwe dollar daily flop, blackouts, fund prices. The Citizen from Tanzania, what you could earn with proper e-waste handling. The Sunday Monitor, impotence linked to manpower herbs. So that is what we have in some of the newspapers from across Africa and others from the UK. The Sunday Telegraph. Staff can sue their boss if customers offend them. The Sunday Express, Rishi has 6 months to sort both crises. The Sun on Sunday, married England, ace gag secret lover. And the Mirror, Sunday Mirror, have a laugh at my funeral. Actress Amanda tells of the tears of laughter. Okay, so that is what we have in some of those newspapers from Africa, and indeed a few of them from the UK. Back to you, Doc.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I hope all of you know that I don't know whether I'm audible enough for everybody. Just give up. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Twitter space. Today, Sunday, Palm Sunday. First of all, for you who are Christians, thank you very much for coming now to join us on this day as Jesus enters the temple in Jerusalem. The entry of Jesus in the temple in Jerusalem signifies quite a number of things to anybody who is a theologian. For me, who is a Christian who has read the Bible, this was the last journey that Jesus Christ made towards the Jerusalem temple. Let's look today in contemporary Africa. Let's look at Africa, the journey of fighting corruption. You remember from Jericho, Jesus sent 2 disciples across to go ahead and look for a donkey that does not do any work, that has not done any work. and bring it to me, ye. When they ask you who has sent you, you say the master has sent me. So, ladies and gentlemen, Africa, this is a great day. Corruption in Africa has destroyed this continent. Is it the time for leaders in Africa to enter the temple and get rid of corruption? Jesus entered the temple from Jericho. From this day, the Palm Sunday, you will not hear of anything else. You will not hear of miracles. Jesus became tough from today because he had seen something wrong coming. Can we become tough like Jesus? Can we react, fix our continent? Can we fix our AU? Can we fix our East African community? Can we fix ECOWAS? Can we fix SADC? Can we fix every organization on planet Earth? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The topic today is the United States of America returning to Africa for geopolitical interests or for trade interest. Is it returning here? Is it coming back after a challenge from Russia and China? Where has it been for a long time? We have been looking for them as real partners to help us to sort the problems. Remember Trump. The Trump administration cut off itself from Africa completely and told us they had nothing to do. Even Trump told us Africa is shit. It's shit. Actually, a shit hole. We don't want to, children are not on this platform today, so we shall use that language. He said Africa is a shit hole. And Muhammad, today I'll give you another chance because you always miss my shows by running away. In December last year, 2022, President Biden summoned African heads of state to White House. We were very, very happy that they went there. All of us were upbeat that something was going to come out, that our leaders will come back with goodies. Our leaders would bring money on the table. But to our surprise and shock, as we speak today, our leaders came back with nothing. Some of them did not even tell us what they brought back. I'm sure most of you Africans, I don't know. I have seen a few things here being talked about. United States will come back. United States will do this. United States is going to do this. These are just empty, hot air promises that we don't see on the African continent. Until they are pressed to the degree that China now needs a slice of what is happening in Africa, or China has taken a slice of what has happened in Africa. We now have the United States of America coming out, telling us that, we are now back. We are now back. We are now back. We are back. We are in Mozambique. We are in Zambia. We are in Kenya. We are in Uganda. But then they come again with something. They want to catch you. They want to give you the money, but they catch you. They are going to catch you. China gives you money, but doesn't catch you. This is where. And the United States of America should not think Matanga is criticizing them. I'm helping them. I am a student, a one-class student on planet Earth of international relations. I have studied and passed. My professors were not mad when they gave me the pass, the distinction to pass. But I'm telling you, Americans, I'm trying to help you, that the way you are handling the African affairs will not deliver you to the sanctuary of peace, to the sanctuary of trade, to the sanctuary of reconciliation among Africa. We are very upset Maybe you come because of your, when you send Kamala Harris, is it because of historical connections, links, interests? Because part of the parents were rumored to be black, the what? But we want real tangible things to be seen done. The United States of America talks, but it doesn't deliver. We want the deliveries. We want the hospitals. We want the roads. We want the railway. We want the improvement in our schools. That's why we are going to places like China to seek what we can get. Instead of sending Kamala Harris, the Vice President of United States of America, visited Ghana, capital city, on Sunday, the first leg of her trip in Africa. The US president met President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, on Monday, praising him for his democratic principles, pledging $100 million, which is 93 million euros or CDs, I don't know, 93 million, yes, in an aid package to the country. Harris visited the country presidential palace, enjoyed the trappings of power. In Tanzania, the United States of America Vice President Kamala Harris arrived in Tanzania Thursday for an official tour of East African. Local media outlets have said welcomed her with a visit to the Citizen newspaper, describing her visit in its editorial as another ringing endorsement of the economic diplomacy pursued by President Samia Suluhu Hassan. In Tanzania, the truth is, Madam Samia Suluhu Hassan has actually done a great job. Madam, I want to encourage you to continue doing a great job of reconciliation, of putting the people of Africa together, of putting Tanzanians together, of allowing the opposition to carry out its activities in Tanzania. Thank you very much, Madam President Samia Suluhu. I give a credit where it is due. Those who want to kill me because I've given a credit can kill me, or you hunger yourself first. Because some of the African countries, we are going to condemn them very badly one of these days. Because internet has come, you will not stop us from condemning you. Treat the opposition with respect. Samia Suluhu treats opposition, attends opposition rallies. Tanzania has grown in nationalism, in Pan-Africanism, in unity of purpose. Well done, Tanzania. Well done, Tanzania. Well done, Tanzania. Thank you very much. She visited that country and she highlighted quite a lot of opportunities for growth and left some money in Tanzania. In Zambia, Kamala Harris, where we have the United States of America has got something that I have never liked in Africa. I have never seen a base, a military base inside a country, unless things have changed. The military bases are situated in Dar es Salaam, in Durban, in Port Elizabeth, in Mombasa, in Djibouti, in Mogadishu, in Kismayo, in Port Said, in Port Sudan. That's where we put military bases. But Tanzania has got, Zambia has got a military base, a United States of America military base. When the vice president arrived in Zambia on Friday for final stop of week-long trip across Africa, she touched down at the airport, gatherings, many people, glittering new terminal built by China. I am bringing out these things for you to see, and my speakers pick some of these things that you will highlight it to us. A new glittering airport where Kamala Harris arrived was built by China. The new glittering airport at Dar es Salaam International Airport, where she arrived, was built by Turkey. Did you know that? So, ladies and gentlemen, here you are. The Africa that we want, you come to visit some people's airports. You have not contributed to it, and you say it is glittering. Beijing financed the project of building that airport, financed it, paid for it, and America lands on it, praising good airport and good work. But do they give us anything which we can remember? The Chinese have left a legacy here. We can remember stadiums, all the stadiums that the Chinese built for us. We can remember Twanzam Railway that the Chinese built for us. We can remember Kibimba rice scheme in Uganda, where Chinese 40 years ago were sharing rice with Ugandans. But there are few things that people find, real structures that people can remember America for. We remember America mostly for human rights, standing for human rights. We give them a credit for asking for human rights records in Africa. Otherwise, some African leaders would have killed us. Some of them would have killed all of us here. Some of them are very deadly. America, thank you very much for trying to defend the human rights record. That's okay. But there are certain things that you have not done so well also. That you don't give us only human rights, but you give us food to accompany the human rights. We must eat. A human being must eat. You can't tell him that we need human rights. But America also is fond of isolating and punishing its own countries that they want to do business with. Sanctions on Zimbabwe has stood out as an American fight. Yet it would be Britain which started the sanctions that would continue with the sanctions. Ladies and gentlemen, is it geopolitical? Is it geopolitical? Secretary of State Blinken was also, a few months ago, traveled to Ethiopia to consolidate the peace process in Ethiopia. You know very well what happened there. He's demanding for human rights accountability from the Ethiopian government, and they have a tussle. Ladies and gentlemen, I open now. Do we have geopolitical interest? Is America placing itself in Zambia, for example? Let me have the first speaker, Madame Brunel, then the second speaker, Mohammed, then the third speaker, Wesonga. You should come up here for speaking. Then we have the fourth speaker, four people. I don't know whether Wanda would like to speak, or Farai, or whoever wants to speak. The mic is now open. Put up your hand and we shall bring you. Miriam, let's coordinate. Farai wants to speak, and that is a very good. The first speaker is my good African, I don't call her Italian, my African friend, Brunel. Thank you very much. Take the mic, my dear sister.
Yeah, good morning, Doctor. So happy to be here as always. Thank you very much, everybody. I share, of course, in my Twitter your in very interesting, very hot room space. It's very important to talk about this, and I really hope, since that I'm in connection with a lot of people also from the States and from a lot of other countries, I really hope that many people will come over and we talk openly about what's happening and what is the vision of all of us for the future and for the, of course, for what's happening today. Yes, of course, there is a high, strong competition about, what's going on with the American, the hegemony of American, the autocrats that they did in the past, also especially in Africa, but also in Europe. Don't forget, I'm Italian, but I live in Germany at the moment, and I lived in 14 different countries before. and the interest that they have for Africa is with China, Russia, and on the other side we have US and Europe. Now Europe, it's just a sort of a colony at the moment, as we were talking already last time. Unfortunately, there is a lot going on. One of the things that I wanted to mention is it's very important, actually. It's about the immigration, how they manipulate also this to create crises and to blackmail countries in every way, you know. And this is organized, of course, not from the needed of the people that come from Africa, because everybody have the right all over the world to change if they want to change. But the reason why they need to change is very important. They need to change because the help that Africa had until now was a fake help. You cannot just blackmail country by feeding them and cutting the, you know, the food that you provide to them every time they don't behave or they don't go your way. You need to provide the assistance to the countries and to exchange your interest in their minerals and their resources in providing, of course, what you were just mentioned, a proper growth of the country and independence. And was something that was missing in Africa forever. So now, like never, is the time for Africa to stand up proudly. Now I say we, but of course I'm not African, but I will say if I will be African now, we have what you need and we want to change what we're going to tell you. So it's your time, Africa, to become strong, unite, and get everything in change that you want now like never. This is my idea. And yes, indeed, of course, they're coming. They're coming. We all saw it. I mean, if I have a list here, I make a little list. There was the Secretary of State that went to Ethiopia and Niger before. You know, they were visiting you, they're visiting you, all of them. Kamala went to Ghana, Tanzania, Zambia. All these are targets, specific targets, because of course they want your resources. Europe also is want your resources, but nobody wants to support Africa to grow and to become independent. And this is actually what a multipolar world have to offer to Africa. So I really hope that Africa will be strong enough. Another important thing that I wanted to mention, and then of course we will see how the discussion go, and I'm always there if you need me. It's about corruption. I'm Italian. And as we all, when we have this in common in many countries in the Mediterranean and in Africa, we know what is corruption. We have corruption in our culture, but let's face it, why? Because we didn't have a choice. Africa didn't have a choice than to, this was the only reality that they offered to them since ever. They offered to them not the opportunity to think what was the good for the full country, but what was your own personal good. So they always offered to somebody to become rich on the top of the others, to become, you know, to be elevate, to take their family, their single family in a better position instead of the full country in the better position. But this was something in the culture, like we have in Italy. We didn't have a choice. We need to grow it to understand that even the corruption that we have, it was not something that was coming from us. It was imposed to us to become corrupted to survive. And now is also time to change this attitude, because now is the time to grow up together and change, really change our world. Thank you so much, Dr. Amia, if you need me.
Thank you very much, Madame Brunel, my sister from Italy. I don't call you from Italy, I call you my sister all the time. You have been there, you have stood by me every time, and we shall make it. We shall educate the public. Mohammed, you have been escaping me, now I have found you. Take the microphone before you escape again.
Thank you, Dr. David. My brothers and in the whole continent, I just want to tell the West that this is Africa that 2 years ago, you know, during COVID, nobody remember. No one thought about sending a mask to Africa. Nobody thought about sending oxygen, ventilators, vaccine to Africa. Now they remember us. Now we became important. Okay? Since when the United States government help a country to stand up? I want, I am not so informative, but I was Googling, I couldn't find. The biggest ally for, or what they thought that they are allies, friends for United States government, was the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia. And what they had as a thank you for being a loyal friend, the Arab Spring. Egypt, we had the fingers of the United States in Hillary Clinton emails. It is not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's proven, their paper, not us. I just want to ask every person in Africa, what we don't have in Africa. We don't have oil, we have oil. We don't have gas, we have gas. We don't have lithium, we have lithium. We have even uranium, gold, and diamond, and every resource in the world, in this black country, in this black continent. They call it black because it's full of resources. High density colors, it turns black. Okay? What we miss? Linking arms, linking hands, forgetting about these toxic ideas that the old occupation put in our head, make us fear from each other, make us don't trust each other, because they don't want us to cooperate together, because they will not be able to suck our blood anymore. How come Africa is the biggest producer of diamonds and Belgium is the most famous country for diamond, is a diamond capital? We all saw the example when we put our hand in hand. Egypt and Tanzania, we built a dam there, and we were damn grateful for their trust that an African country like Egypt can do it. And we did it in a remarkable time and in the highest, best quality. I said all what I want to say. I am 52 years old. I've heard a lot. I've seen a lot from politics and from the West. The person who was killing you yesterday, he will never help you today, because this is the picture that he have in his mind. You are the victim. You cannot be intelligent. They don't believe that we can be clever. In one of the spaces, I was sorry about one lady telling one speaker, but you don't sound like black. I mean, how the black look like, but I don't know how the black sound like. Thank you so much. I am getting so emotional now, but it's better to calm down. And then thank you, Dr. David, for giving me the chance. And I will be happy if someone give me the name of the country that the US government went inside and lifted up. In the nest or in the bubble down, I posted a video about how the US has a long history of coups. The whole video called 1 Century of Coup. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. A coup starting with 1957 coup of 1965 coup of Kwame Nkrumah. It was fomented, it was manufactured, it was organized. I have seen a video of the United States of America training our officers, and the officers that train in the US come back to overthrow governments in Africa. You get my point? They come back to overthrow governments in Africa. About 5-7 officers, including Idi Amin. You know, they have overthrown. You are right. You have a point there. And the United States of America, for example, Mohammed has touched something about COVID-19. When Corona struck the world, Trump first said he will save Americans first. But where were we to get these drugs? They gave us drugs later. The drugs that they had, surplus. So it means if we did not buy our own drug to save our people, you can see where we would have ended. You can see where we could have ended. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Miriam, I don't know which order who was going next. Is it Elif Ziwanda or Farai? Elif Ziwanda, Farai, then Bento. No, Elif Ziwanda, Farai, Mopare.
Hello.
Elif Ziwanda, please.
Thank you so much. Now, today I'll choose to blame we Africans for what is happening for the USA and any other country outside there. And the reasons why I choose to blame we Africans is because we have decided to bury our heads in the sand, in the imagination that the enemy is gone, is not there, whereas we know that their trouble is still ahead of us. If you look into USA as a capitalist nation, and you look into the history of Africa, where we came from and where we are today, the history clearly tells us that the rest of the world came into Africa not to grow Africa, but to impoverish Africa or to loot from Africa. And if I'm told we have read the books of history, and they are clearly telling us that the rest of the world have never or has never had an interest of growing Africa, then why do we imagine that when USA comes in today has an interest in growing Africa? Imagine this is a capitalist nation with capitalism being you're so concerned of yourselves first, or you come first, then they will come in later. That you have to grow USA first, then they will come in later. And based on history, that even later has never come. That we have never gotten to a point that we even now get into the mutual business, mutual working or economic working, in the sense that we sit on the table, then negotiate on how to grow each other's economy. But our leaders keeps making the same mistakes. Our leaders keeps, we end up having puppet leaders, that we end up now seeking even the help of the very countries to fund our elections, that we end up even, that we have gone to an extent that when we have problems, when we are killing each other, we will tag ICC, we will tag USA, we will tag a number of the Western countries and ask them for help. I think for the first time, we need to unbury our heads from the sand, face the reality, then move on if we want to grow ourselves, grow our regions, and make Africa better for the generations to come and ourselves. But if we keep imagining that the rest of the world will come in, then we'll have a fair kind of discussion that is aimed at growing both ends. Then we are still burying our heads in the very sand. To them, they're doing it out of their own interests. They want to grow. They want to grow their ends, their nations, and for the sake of them and their generations. But our leaders have chosen to ignore the plight of their subjects. They have chosen to ignore the generations that will come, but instead they are ready to front their stomachs. They are ready to front their hunger, so that once they are fed, then life has to continue. Therefore, let us first get back to the drawing board, put a stop put a stop or count, put an end to an imagination that the rest of the world wants the best for us. Then we start making things work for ourselves. If it is the business aspect, we have 1.4 billion persons in the continent. Then let us start working with the 1.4 billion persons. I was surprised that when you go to a region like Europe, that you only need to have you only need to have your passport, then you'll freely move from one end to the other end. But today, a Kenyan will find it hard to go and work in a neighboring country, Tanzania, or a Tanzanian will find it hard to go and work in a neighboring country, Uganda. That the bureaucracies that we have established, they are they're so much in the sense that we can't grow. But at the end of the day, we will end up pointing a finger at the rest of the world that, based on history, they have never had an interest in growing our continent. Therefore, let us open our eyes and start addressing things the way they are. The rest of the world was not going to solve our issues, but instead, let us solve our own issues. Then when they come in, they find an organized group. When they find us organized, it will be hard for them to penetrate and do whatever they want to do. At that point, even if it's not a 50-50, but they'll be able to provide a 30%, then they get a 70. Instead of having a 90 or a 95, then we remain with 5. That you have gold, you have all the minerals, but you get 0 from it. All the benefits will go outside there. Then we remain killing each other. Then at the end of the day, we tag them and invite them to arrest us and take us to the ICC. Let us open our eyes. I yield.
Thank you very much. The most important thing, seriously, you have made serious points, Wanda. Some of these problems look like we are ourselves, we make them. For example, America is not a signatory to the International Criminal Court. But you find people in Africa calling America, come and arrest, come and arrest, come and arrest. But excuse me, they are not members of the ICC. They don't want their citizens to be checked by ICC. Today, this morning, when I was writing my sermon on a Palm Sunday, I told people from 2005, and the Ugandans are here, Lukwago is here. The only man south of Sahara on the continent of Africa who stood firm and opposed the International Criminal Court is Matsanga. You can check the records. From 2005, I said, no, this court is going to damage our Africa. Americans wanted me to be finished. The French wanted me killed. I'm now telling you here openly. I had to hire 2 hotels in The Hague whenever I went there to represent or to make my work as an activist. One in The Hague, one in Amsterdam. So that I could meet, they don't know where I was sleeping next. I'm telling you, until I struggled and I brought out people, I brought out Babugo, I take credit of all this Babugo case. If you find that I never wrote a document on Babugo explaining to the court, then you can cut my fingers. Bemba is now a vice president in Congo. If you find that I did not write, did not oppose, did not stand in front of the gates of ICC with Congolese saying, no, this court is a wrong court, Why did you arrest Bemba and you left Bozize? If you find I did not stand under campaign and refuse Ocampo, my two Kenyan brothers, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, would have not seen the presidency anywhere on earth. They were going to lock them up. The Africans had connived, called for these people to be locked up. I stood firm. I braved insults. So we have a problem here. Wanda, you have a point. We called these guys to come and arrest us and take us. But we don't prepare ourselves. We don't unite. It is very difficult for an African to travel in Africa without being stopped. Where are your papers? Go to South Africa. It's the first country that asks for papers. Every time. Paper. Where is the paper? Where is the paper? Where is the paper? Look at that. We can't develop. Now, America, is it coming to geopolitically place itself interest to buy the diamonds, the gold in Congo by opening up an embassy, a base in Zambia? I've never been a base. I have never seen a base that is interior. All the bases in history have been at the sea where ships can anchor. How America decided to make a base, a military base inside Zambia? What are their interests? Now they are coming in big numbers, but promises. They give us promissory notes. Farai, perhaps you know something. Let's have Farai.
Yes.
Then we have Mo, then Bento, then Lukwago, then Da Vinci, then we stop there again. Farai from Zimbabwe. Take the mic.
Thank you, doctor, and thanks for having me. So, a very interesting conversation, by the way, especially in light of the fact that we've had senior policymakers from the USA visit Africa in a space of 2 months. We've had the foreign secretary, we've had the foreign relations advisor secretary, I think it is, and then we've had the vice president. Prior to that, we've also had the US Africa summit in the United States. All pointing to, of course, they may not call it this, but all pointing to not only just the growth of Africa's influence to a great extent, but also how we have become sort of like, if you harken back to the Cold War times, Africa was the Cold War was played in Africa's backyard. Purely because of our voting capacity, and also with China relations going south, and what the US deems to be China's growing influence, we too are deemed to be an area to build influence from, because we are a strong voting bloc within the UN. But so, in as much as all these things are true, but I think, and I do respect what everyone else has said with regards to the conditions of our continent and the many challenges that we have economically. But I also want to take it from a different angle. I want to also look at the positives. What as us as a continent, what have we been able to achieve? And I think this is important because it's not the same old story. The problem is that we never change it, nor do we nuance it or present different perspectives, irrespective of the multiple challenges we've had. I think we have seen a lot of growth economically and politically over several decades. I'd further predict that we are poised for further growth. If you consider the fact that our GDP, or the GDP rather of sub-Saharan Africa, has grown fivefold, from, I think it was a mere 400 billion about 20 years ago to nearly 2 trillion today, with a growing population, growing middle class. Currently, our middle class stands at about 114 million, which is anticipated to grow to about 212 million by 2030. If you further consider the fact that we are estimated to have estimated to maybe carry about a quarter of the world's people, Africa, us, our continent, is going to have such tremendous growth. And it may, when you can kind of hearken to the growth of Asia as well. And I think Africa, we can move towards that, but there are areas that we can develop. And I think one of the things that we are doing quite well is the Africa Free Trade, for example, is a great way to do that, where you through leveraging Agenda 2063, in which you want to grow internal industrialization, focusing primarily on boosting economic growth through industry building, right? And it's internalized. And and if you look at that, the countries that have ratified that closely, we've had over 34 countries now ratify that they will be joining the Africa Free Trade, which is above 60%, which is great progress. In terms of peace and stability, of course, there are challenges within the east and western side of our country, and as well as sections of the south, which I think is settling down in Mozambique. But it's nowhere near what we had 20 years ago. And there are greater disciplines put in place, stronger multilateral institutions compared to 20 years ago. Is this to suggest that our challenges are not there and they're absent? No. I simply argue that I don't think that you're talking to an Africa in which you are to look at it through the lens of a poor begging bowl approach. That is no longer the case. And it's evident by even how we represent ourselves at the UN, evident even with these current visits in which you're finding a much more audacious leadership that is challenging and saying that if you want us to have a discussion around Africa, we will no longer be used as a pawn for China or be used as a pawn for Russia. And I think a good exemplary leadership that we're seeing with South Africa actually saying that with Russia, we stand our ground. We have historical ties. They have not been our colonial partners in the past. In fact, they were a decolonial partner. And so those fundamentals to us are inherently entrenched in our foreign policy, a non-aligned approach. And we still subscribe to that. A number of African countries are still non-aligned. So in terms of our foreign policy approach, we have tried to be consistent. Of course, divisions here and there, that's to be anticipated because Africans are not a monolith. Our countries have multitudes of different histories, and our civilizations have different stories to tell in as far as our developmental trajectory is concerned. And our priorities can be different because we're not a monolith. But nevertheless, what we've seen is a collectivism a collective approach rather to looking at how we develop, how we progress, and how we continuously esteem the continent. So, in as much as I do agree with my brothers and sisters that there are multiple challenges, but I don't think that we should continuously state those challenges as if we have not progressed, as if we have nothing to be proud of. We have a strong diaspora whose collective income has raised about 83 billion remittances back to Africa as of 2020, and it continues to grow from a from its trajectory and projections. They continue to grow, which in itself, by the way, evidences the fact that we have a higher remittances coming into Africa more than we get in foreign direct investment and human developmental aid. This is according to the World Bank statistics. That demonstrates growth. And there's a lot to leverage. So Africa is no longer the continent of yesterday. That once I'm sure Doctor, you would recall, Dr. Matsanga, that the Economist once released a report calling Africa the hopeless continent in 2000. I don't think that they would ever say that again now. All I'm saying is that we are moving away from a hopeless situation. We are moving towards a hopeful situation in which the argument no longer just rests on civil rights rather. But now we want our civil rights. We want our economic rights to be justified. We want to be we want to be on an equal footing on the international world trade markets. We want to have equal access on WTO. We want
Farai, are we being given those equal rights? That's
no, we're
the
not.
point. No, wait. We have demanded equal rights in the World Trade Organization. Are we being given? Farai, we have demanded equal representation on the United Nations Security Council. Have we been given? No. We have demanded equal rights on International Criminal Court. Have we been given? No. We have demanded equal rights on all spheres, military, for example, to help us to quell insurgency in the world that America itself started. Look at the insurgents, Farai. Look at the insurgents in Somalia.
But Dr. Matanga, you make it appear as if I'm arguing with you. That's not my argument. My
No,
argument
I'm not
is that
saying you are arguing. I was adding on what you are saying.
yes. No, and you're right. On all fronts, we are not given those rights. But I'm simply saying that there is a new found leverage in which we are utilizing. I think we are sober to the reality that post-COVID, we were the last till this day. We have not been able to receive, the equal vaccines that most countries have got. We've even termed that we even coined the term what you call it? We called it what? Vaccine apartheid, right? So we realize that, but we now that they are coming, now that there are new frontiers such as Russia, such as China, coming to the front. What we have always done in the past during our decolonial times was to leverage those differences, and I think this time, as we are non-aligned, it doesn't matter if Russia's interests supersede. It doesn't matter if China's interests supersede. I think we should look at Africa's interests, and therefore, if they come to us with what they have been proposing, as we are doing, by the way, we are arguing that, well, if you want us to tweak things here from a foreign policy standpoint, the trade-off has to be greater representation. And look at the discussions around G20, for instance, where they are talking about involving the African Union. These are small steps, yes, I concede, but they demonstrate that we are heading towards the right direction. But we need to further embed that, and we need to be further focused on putting Africa's agenda first. And this is what we would like to see. What is our greatest leverage? And our greatest leverage, of course, is our resources and so forth. But finally, I would say this: it's not just that. We have often moved in silos, and because we've moved in silos as individual entities, our bargaining capacity has been diminished. So, if we are going to have further representation on the world stage, then we need to move away from moving as silos and moving more collectively, leveraging our capacity to trade internally, growing our internal trade base from a current mere 20% to growing it over the 36% percentile that is anticipated by the Agenda 2063. We have the formula, we have the frameworks, we have the policies. We now need to implement.
Thank you very much, Farai. We have the formula, we have the policies, we have every energy, we have a good population, a youthful population. Let's implement it. Let's move in unit of purpose. That one you have knocked the point home. And I want to thank you for being elaborate on that and giving us the real thing home. That is very good. We have everything on the planet, on our continent. We have water, we have trees, we have rivers, we have mountains, we have gorillas, we have lions, we have all types of animals where people come to see. God gave us these rights. God gave us these animals. Don't think these animals are not there because God, on their own, God gave them to us. He gave them to us, and we should look after them. That's why people pay their tickets to come and see them. Why is it that there are no lions in Europe? Because God wanted us to have them as an asset to use later on. But let me first, as I bring in Bento, prepare your notes, but let me tell you something here. United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced $150 million in direct assistance to Africa's Sahel region as he visited Niger, seeking to strengthen ties with the country that has so far avoided recent spate of military coups, Russia mercenaries, and the destabilizing of its neighbors. Now, you are giving 150 million as an incentive to Niger government for having not taken part in military coups. How many countries are you going to give that amount of money so that they don't take part in military coups? Therefore, there is a problem that some of the military coups are instigated and funded, supplied logistically by United States of America. If they don't want you, You go out. So, Bento, as you come on the space, there are so many things. And I like the format, the arguments that are coming up now. Wanda, Farai, they all say almost the same thing. We are not united. We move like one, isolated in different units. That's why these guys have divided us. We don't move as a unifying factor, a united Africa. The AU is gone. It doesn't move us as united. AU actually helps us to divide us more. The AU and the Francophone. Rwanda has put a lady there called Louise Mushikiwambo as the Secretary General. She's always traveling in Africa, whipping French-speaking countries against the African English-speaking countries. Now you tell me how you are going to unite. Ladies and gentlemen, this topic, why is it coming now? Why is it coming now? Is it because several countries are joining BRICS? You know, Russia, China, South Eastern countries, Asian countries are saying enough is enough. We are not going to use a dollar. Sorry, but we shall use our local currencies in settling our foreign payments. So many things are coming. So many things are coming. And America's dollar might lose value. That's why America is moving. I can't see people here on the platform bringing this idea. You are thinking, the question was meant to bring out those ideas. Is America threatened by the presence of Russia, China, Brazil, India, BRICS, South Africa, Saudi Arabia joining them, Iran, Southeastern Asian countries now joining BRICS? Is America threatened? Is it threatened? And Americans who are listening, I'm not against you. I'm maybe opening your eyes. You are in big trouble, babes. If you don't bring the real tangible money, you promise our leaders money, but you don't pay them. You bring conditions. And I want to hear more people talk about these conditions in Africa. Especially people from Uganda, the conditions are attached to this aid. If you don't do this, you shall do that. So what is going on here? Bento, take the mic, my
Okay,
brother.
thanks, Dr. David Matanga and the host of Gutu and all the other um, speakers who did their submissions here, including my fellow Zimbabweans who are here, who are very patriotic and Pan-Africanist. It's laughable that America gave Niger $150 million for as an incentive not to do coups. And recently, about 2 days ago, they gave Zambia 16 million to fight against corruption. You know, we don't need their trinkets and arms. Africa doesn't need this. We have what it takes for us to develop ourselves. All we want from them is to stop interfering with the way we are running our affairs. Even in the Bible, Peter and John told the disabled person that silver and gold they did have, but they just told the disabled man to stand and go in the name of Jesus. You know, what I'm going to say here probably it has been said by other speakers. I'm not sure, but I'm going to run through. My submission is not structured as usual. America, as we know, USA has got no permanent friends, you know, but they've got permanent interests. They never invest in Africa. They only invest in goals which fund instability wherever they are. They are juxtaposition to fight liberation movements, and they are fighting China. They are fighting their own wars in Africa. Even during the Second World War, they say the Second World War. Some of these wars were fought in Africa, which are not our wars, and they are doing the same. You know, they kill our people through their police, and they pretend to love us. How can you say you love us when you kill our people? They sanction Zimbabwe because they are anathema to revolution, which corrects historical injustices, especially land revolutions. You know, it reminds them of their how they were founded. America was founded on slavery, conquest, and disposition of other people's lands. You know, so for Africa, Africa needs one thing first as the foundation, that is unity in every respect. Imagine if Africa was united, the sanctions they put on Zimbabwe were not going to work. After we unite, we should not forget about yesterday. We need to embrace technology and advance it. Was only technology was the reason why our forefathers were defeated. The Lobegulas, all the chiefs in Zimbabwe, the Macompes, the Samori Toures of the Mantingas, the Setroyos, all so and the biggest technology was the Maxim gun. So we need to advance our technology so that these things don't happen again. Because I can foresee a situation where they are trying to do the same to what they did to our forefathers. So we really need to work together and advance our technology in every aspect, even including military. You know, Africa has got all the advantage. 1.4 billion people. That's a 1.4 billion market. You know, young, energetic population with an appetite to work. That's why a lot of our people they go with the risky boats and they capsize, they die trying to cross, you know, the seas to go to Europe, and some in Zimbabwe trying to cross the Limpopo. And so all what we are saying, we need to unite, embrace technology, like what China did. They embrace technology and look at where they are now. So I want to urge all African brothers, wherever they are, not to accept the Americans coming to us with trinkets and arms. We don't need them. We are capable of looking after ourselves. One thing we are asking from the USA is to stop interfering in our affairs and stop sanctioning people they don't like, because they are not innocent, because we know their history, we know their foundation. It's not legal, it's illicit and brutal. Thank you. I learned after what I've said. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Miriam, my co-host, after this, you take over. I want to invite Lukwago and then Panda. Let me see. Pandari, my friend from Zimbabwe, Lukwago from Uganda, Jose from Otto from South Sudan, who is in Denmark. Thank you very much. And then Nick, my brother, you have come today with full force. It looks like you have a lot of material to blow up the platform. Lukwago, the American new presence in Africa now, hectic move, hyper. What has caused it? What is making them run very fast, send envoys, give out loans, paper, promises, 150 million. Remember, America said they would pump in $55 billion, but they would take out $88 billion. Hala? So it means we have nothing, we are gaining out of this. They take out more than what they pump in. What is going on here? Are they threatened by the presence of America, of Russia, China, India, BRICS nations that are forming a formidable force? Every African country wants to trade with BRICS. We want a new currency. We refuse Muammar Gaddafi to create a new currency, but another form has come. And you want to stop them from creating it. Several countries are saying we shall settle our money with rupees. You give us oil, we pay you rupees. Hey, so here we are. Lukwago from Uganda. Then Miriam take over from there, invite Pandare, then invite Jose Otto, then Nick, and then we have those speakers. Line up your paperwork. Lukwago, take the microphone.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. Actually, Doctor, after, was it the Second World War, US championed for the independence of some African countries, where it came up with what it termed as the Marshall Aid Plan that intended to prevent the spread of communism in Western Europe and to stabilize the international order in a way favorable to the development of political democracy and a free market economies. So, in its attempts to do so, UK, that was Britain, accepted to give independence to many African countries for it to access aid from US. A superpower by then was in making. US came up with the unipolar system, where it is the only state that is ruling over other states globally. It had to come up with NATO to defend its hegemonic powers. In case any country challenges it, NATO is there to deal with that threat. But Doctor, the mistake US made after the fall of the Soviet Union, US came up with that idea of terrorism it intended to use to front its interests in Africa and the Middle East. Any country that expressed its willingness to fight against terrorism automatically became an ally of United States of America. By concentrating much on the fight against terrorism, by the way, you happen to realize that where there are those terrorist organizations, ICC, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, in those countries, there is a lot of oil. Okay? That is the mistake US made to finance terrorist organization in its attempt to exploit oil from those countries. In doing so, China concentrated much on infrastructure development in Africa. And by the time US realized that China had penetrated Africa, it had to drop, to forego the fight against terrorism, to concentrating on how to deal with Russia-China dominance in Africa. Here we are. That's where we are now. That's why US is pumping a lot. You are seeing unexpected visits. They are going where actually they are like fighting China, Russia dominance in Africa. But Doctor, to my dismay, US is the champion for democracy. But I wonder the kind of democracy US and UK you are propping up in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Kenya. Kenya today is in political turmoil. Protests are protests simply because you meddle, US, UK, and Israel, you meddle into Kenyan elections. And that's where they are, because for you, your first priority are your interests. You have no friends. Or you consider interests. Now see what your interests are causing in Kenya. Okay? You are imposing African states, African countries had their own political systems. They had their own economic systems. They had their own social systems. But you demonized them in favor of the Western liberal democracies, which are un-African. Okay? You come, you impose elections onto us, okay? Elections are rigged, people end up killing themselves. You see? African per se in Uganda. Buganda was a nation. It had its own capable political system. But you rendered it useless. See now what we are in, tribalism. You amalgamated different tribes to form one country, Uganda. People are asking for federal. But all that cannot be because you made Uganda a republic. Why don't we go back to our own political systems? You came, you impose your Western liberal democracy onto us, that if you don't follow it, we are not going to give you aid. The IMF, World Bank policies, IMF policies, that if you don't do this, we are not going to give you aid. Conditions attached to them, the loans and the grants you give us. But China comes, if you want a loan, it will give you a loan without conditions attached to it. Doctor, that's where now the war is. US's presence in Africa is all about fighting China, Russia dominance in Africa. But it is US that led to that. How dare you impose your Western democracy onto the African continent? Simply because you are looking for loopholes where you can exploit our resources without benefiting the African child. Africa is a continent blessed with all sorts of mineral resources. But simply because Canada, Japan, Russia, China, US, each and every superpower is interested in them, they have turned our continent into a battlefield. Now they are competing for these resources amongst themselves. They are using we Africans to create rebel outfits within us that are fighting for the interests of US and those global powers. That's where every nation, every African country that is rich in minerals is awash with a lot of killings. Which killings? Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. So, Doctor,
go ahead. Somebody is trying to interfere. I think someone from US is not happy with your speech, but it's okay.
No.
Not a problem.
They must get the truth. They must get the truth simply because they made a very big blunder. How dare you come up with terrorism as a mean to front your interests?
So
people are talking of Al-Shabaab.
As you are still on the microphone, can I ask one question? Most of the things that you have said are very correct. And I would like to understand as a researcher, this notion of terrorism, the invented terrorism. I can agree with you on Somalia, for example. In 1991, the United States of America left Somalia hurriedly with their trousers in the knees, catch 22. And then 2020, the United States of America, or 2021, United States of America left Afghanistan with their trousers in their knees. What was the use of invading Afghanistan? Did we accomplish the role in Afghanistan? Why did we leave people like in an ocean, swimming without knowing where to go? Can you imagine how many Taliban who supported American policy in America, in Afghanistan, how many have been killed, how many have been detained, how many have been slaughtered, maimed, raped, women not allowed to go to school? America had introduced schooling for women in the same classes with men. You can see what turmoil they have brought, they left behind. Look, starting from Congo, 1961, The Americans were against Patrice Lumumba. The Belgians killed him, took his finger, and kept it in the laboratory, in a fridge somewhere, and to show us Africans that we are very stupid people. You kill our person, keep our person in a fridge for over 60 years. Then you show us one finger. Bring it back, a golden teeth. You look at that. It's really very painful. In 1961, the Secretary General of the United Nations died, killed by the same agencies. So when we see America reshaping itself, coming, someone has asked the question on this platform that there are no, what is the base? The base is in Zambia. The Americans said they have opened a base in Zambia to have supply chain. They signed an agreement with Zambian government and the Congolese government of DRC of Tshisekedi to buy supply chains of diamond, gold, copper, lithium, platinum from, and yet these are already in the hands of, in Zambia, they are in the hands of Chinese. So don't you see such a policy in Zambia? When you land at the airport that was made by Chinese, and you called it a glittering airport, when you never paid money where you were going, are you not just a parasite? Conclude with making those remarks.
So, my humble appeal, Doctor, the world order to change. Okay? Where more countries should wake up, okay, and oppose Western dictates. We need a world order that is rule-based, not on dictates of superpowers. That if you don't do this, we are not going to give you aid. The worst of all, US, you've done to us, killing our own local pharmaceuticals. Per se in Uganda, if Ugandan government is to buy medicine from US, US is to dictate to Uganda that Uganda kill all your local pharmaceuticals. Then how are we going to develop? Some days back, I had the Minister for Energy. She was like crying out for Europe to help Uganda with technology. Imagine, with technology on how to extract the mineral resources we have. Why can't we invest in education? That education can help to come up with the best of Ugandans, who can come up with that technology the minister is looking for from Western Europe, from Europe, wherever. For China to be where it is, actually I was told that it is investing 20% of its budget into technology advancement. You come up with a country like Uganda that is being forced by US, but actually US dictated to Uganda that it should spend much of its budget into security. But the security, where we are investing more, is a non-productive entity. Why are we not focusing more in agriculture?
Okay, thank you very much. I will call you back again. You've made your points very clear. Why are we not investing in productive areas? Thank you, Lukwago. I can see next, Madam, are you a man or a woman? I don't know. I would only have to test you. Your hand is up for a long time. I think there's a point that is, before I go to Pandare, there's a point that is paining you. NXT. Is there a point that is paining you?
Hi.
Say it now.
Thank you very much. I'm a man. I'm a 27-year-old man from Nigeria. I reckon.
But you have put a photograph of your wife.
No, it's not my wife. It's a photograph for protest because the Nigerian politicians try to stop the civilians from actually voting democratically. Um,
Go ahead.
so I resonate with what Bento said about unity. Now, as I've said earlier, I'm a 27 Nigerian male. For a long time, all we knew about was America and Europe, growing up as a kid. And in the past 2 3 years, I found out more details and found out how I don't even know about my fellow countries in Africa. I don't know about things that are going on in the different countries that are around my own continent. We're so bothered with Europe and with America. Um, Ghana found about 500 tons of gold, I think 4 weeks back or 3 weeks back. And all of a sudden, Kamala Harris is there to strengthen trade. Um, Ethiopia, Uganda. This has been going on for a long time. America and Europe, they try to write their own version of history to show they're the good people. I can never believe an American government or politician has my interest at heart because they assassinated their own president. They assassinated people who wanted to go against them. They created and trained the people who did 9/11. How can I believe people like that? Um, so lastly, because I don't want to take too much time, I want to say that no matter if Russia or China don't have my best interests at heart as an African, they have done more for me and they have sacrificed a lot more than America has. Russia lost 27 million people in World War II, and yet they still offer up their hands for friendship. Now, no matter what you tell me, I think when history comes um, to its end, the truth will be revealed. And I feel like the only way for us to continue to grow as people is to connect and unite. I found out so much about different countries in Africa that makes me love other African countries more than my country. Um, and there's still more to learn. There's so much more to learn that I have no idea about. And no one is teaching us these things. So I feel like more connection, more unity, and the African community, hopefully, um, my children's children will see a better Africa. Thank you.
It's finished, Dr.
Okay.
Matanga. I'll go to.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I think Pada was to come after that.
Yeah. The question to me is, you see, we've always spoken about it here. The Zambian case is not an isolated point. We spoke of how America was penetrating on the ground. It has already done so in the north of Africa. They have got military bases over there. And when this was proposed and it was coming through, the American Congress, we saw it coming. We saw this fight, the geopolitics coming, and it has to be one of ours who gives in. You know, Zambia has given in the region. It has let America come in right in the center of the route of Cape to Cairo. And this is what they've just done. And they control, they want to control that route, see what it is because of the geological, the positioning of that land. Zambia never thought a country that is, its brothers and sisters are seen as an American adversary, and it goes on and allows American foot soldiers to come in. It's there's no selling out of the highest order is that. And we should speak truth to that because we actually then, if we don't do that, we're actually letting down ourselves by pointing out these points from a geopolitics side. If democracy, which they say they fight for, was truthful, the war in Nigeria would have died a long time ago. There has been Boko Haram killing people, murdering people, causing harm to young women and men, and America is in there with their foot soldiers doing missions, and the British are also in Nigeria. Which European nation is not in Nigeria up north? They all have old tactics going in this land. If it was true that they are fighting for the liberation or the fighting, terrorism in Nigeria. How come they've not put so much effort as they've done in Ukraine? The African child should ask that. The moment an African child sits down and really sit down and be taught how to govern themselves by the same person who enslaved your parents, your grandparents, who's still enslaving our economy, you have to seriously ask yourself, what is it in you that drives you to drive Africa backwards? It can be. That's an abnormal situation where the abuser, the murderer, the one who caused so much harm to your people, comes to you and teaches you how to govern yourselves. Why should they be on the table of our way we rule ourselves? Let's fight ourselves. We're not saying we are perfect in the way we do, but the democracy that you need to define, it has to be defined by your own ways, your own principles. None of our African leaders or ourselves were there besides our blood through the slaves that they built the capital. You go to London, 1,000-year-old building is in London. None of us were there to be defining that position. Why should we be told on who and how we should build Africa? I think Africa needs a person like you, Dr. Matsanga. That African Union is the sellout. Now we have a sellout in the southern region. How can we navigate through this path? Because they are there now, north to south. The American presence is there. You see? So we have to ask ourselves. Zambia went on to redress a deal they had done with Congo, with DRC. That's a scary position. Why? Oh, because for selfish reasons. But they've not changed. Ever since they got IMF money, nothing changed. Lives have not changed in Zambia at all. So we have to ask ourselves, who are still the enemies? Who is the enemy within the African soil? Those that are still dining at the expense of these guys are the ones that are letting Africa down. Let's perfect our democracies if that's democracy that you're seeking for. It has to be a democracy written and studied and given forward by us, the Africans, not on the African table, not on the US terms. That's selling out. If you found yourself surviving on an US aid today, you think it's normal for you to fight democracy with the US aid, then we haven't started, have we? And perhaps this is what we need to be talking about. Africa is young. Let it not remain as young. We can only grow in maturity by understanding our own poverties. Our own poverties right throughout Africa and as independent countries. We have to understand our needs, the needs of our people, and not get prescription from everywhere else as we are accepting today. It was a shame. It was a sad day for some of us to see a vice president of the United States coming to America, coming to Zambia, sorry, displaying a show of power within the SADC region. A sad day for SADC, actually. I was expecting SADC leaders to come up with a strong statement that not within our soils, but we're still waiting. The more complacency we show, the stronger they will dig in. And once they dig in, it'll be so difficult. You see, I always tell people that what you saw in Afghanistan, the extraction of the human being, they invested 20-year war. They educated the Afghani person. And we saw the planes flying Germany, from Italy, from everywhere else. That was not in kind. That was not in kind to remove those people from Afghanistan. That is called human harvest. There is science to war. There is science to war, Africans have to understand. It's not because they love you that they'll send a whole plane to extract people from that region. It means they've taken, not only did they destroy, but they took 20 years of investment. 90% of those people that were taken from Afghanistan had gone through some American and British education program and support. They took back what they put in Afghanistan and left the lands to the Taliban again. Dr. Matsanga, why are people not learning? Hillary Clinton herself said it was sad to hear the children of Libya saying, "Come and govern us. We have failed," after she had killed Muammar Gaddafi. What a sad day for Africa when that democratic, principled, or whatever you want to call it, summit happened in the soils of the SADC region near my country. Still disturbs me today that we're not seeing what is to come. Dr. Matsanga, many thanks.
Tell me, Miriam, let me come in here asking Pandari. You mean the summit was held by heads of state of SADC in Zambia?
That summit, the American, the Democratic, the summit that they've just had, the Summit for Democracy, where we saw the Vice President of United States walking those walls, in Zambia. That's a sellout, wasn't it?
So they called it the opposition leaders from Zimbabwe,
Yes, the opposition
as
leaders were
usual.
there.
Yes.
Yes, they were
My,
there.
my I would try to speak to my friend, President HH. Is a great student of mine of political economics from Birmingham. We used to do struggles together against Manawasa. No, against Kiruba when he was a student in the United Kingdom. I will try to find out what exactly. But there must be a Zambian on this platform. There's one Zambian who says that I want you to clarify this, Pandari. Then we shall allow him to come. The Americans told us they were opening a base in Lusaka. Is that a base or an office or an embassy? What is different from the embassy staff who were there and the current staff of army military men who are there right now?
Every embassy comes with intelligence systems, comes with every force there is. But that's an escalation of force, isn't it? And that's what an African child needs to understand. In a command center means something else. It means, that's an escalation of from that's a higher formation than just an embassy. Many apologies about that. So that's an escalation of force, and it's a shame that and anyone can defend it that way. Perhaps maybe because I'm used to military terminology, but I really don't understand where anyone would.
AFCOM,
Yes, it
AFCOM
is.
was in
It's a
Djibouti.
command center. A
Yes,
command
and this
center. Yes.
gentleman, this gentleman has written on my platform that I am telling falsehood. I think I know more about AFCOM than he does. So, Mr. Bantu Droid from Zimbabwe, you have a chance now to tell us the difference between AFCOM as a command center and a military base as it was in Djibouti. Because I don't know whether you have ever traveled to Djibouti, but I've been to Djibouti 222 times. So I don't know how many times you have been there, but I saw what we call a military AFCOM center, which is African Forces for the United States. They have opened a center for the first time inland instead of near the sea. So what do you call that, Mr. Bante?
Yeah. First of all, good afternoon. My name is Bantu, and I'm from Zambia, and I live in Zambia. I'd just like to address three misconceptions or falsehoods, as I call them, that you have stated. Initially, you stated that there's a base in Zambia. That is not true because it's an office of corporation. It's practically a room. It's not a base. There's no airports. There's no tanks. It's a room that is within the American embassy. That's my first point. Now, if you disagree with me, you tell me the location of this military base. The second point I'd like to address is you stated that Zambia signed over diamonds, gold, and other issues. Let me just clarify. When Zambia signed a memorandum of understanding with Congo, that memorandum of understanding was cooperation between the two countries to build lithium batteries. They signed the initial memorandum in Zambia, and then they signed the second one when they went to America. So America wasn't even involved. They just signed it on American soil. And the third point I'd like to clarify, someone stated that the American Vice President Kamala Harris came for the Democratic Summit. That's not true. The American Vice President arrived in Zambia after the summit had ended. If you actually look at the White House government website, it will tell you that the summit started on the 29th and finished on the 30th. It was closed at Mulungushi Conference Center. I attended that event. There was nothing about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris landed the day that summit ended at 1 p.m. By then,
Okay.
that summit had ended. Let me just finish.
You have clarified that. Let me ask further interventions.
Certainly.
Yes, when you say, first I want to knock your point out of the signing of the agreement between Tshisekedi, because I have it here live. I can read for you what the Americans do, but I don't need to read this in my head.
No, please. Can you read paragraph 15 and 16 for me, please?
It says the Americans, it was well published by New York Times and every organization in the world, that America has agreed to take supply lines or supply chain of the following from the Zambia and the Congo. It was published.
I've asked you to read paragraph 15 and 16. No, you're talking about the New York Times.
Because it's
please
on
read
this
the article.
Phone. It is on the equipment I'm using. I would ask my headquarters, Miriam, can you look for that agreement in Nairobi? And meanwhile, we want to invite somebody else, or we wait until Miriam brings in the agreement. You are on the base. Mr. Batrod, don't have bad manners. We are trying to resolve this. And when you do that hand down, then
it is those that,
and Mr. Batrod, I will throw you out of this platform if you do that again. My platform has no lazy brains of your nature. We are just discussing what we know. You don't need to demean my statement. I got the statement from the signing ceremony where America witnessed the two presidents signing an agreement to take supply chains. What is supply chains in economics?
Lithium batteries. I have the actual document right here with me. So
you have the document. I have the reading which was published. The communique
by the New York Times.
There is a difference between a communique and a document. If a communique comes out that in doing so, America will be taking over the supply chain.
That's not what it says.
That is what the communique said.
I'll show me the evidence. I'll apologize when you show me the evidence.
No, I don't. I am very far. I can. My researchers in Nairobi will bring the evidence. A communique said America will take over the supply chains that were previously there. And we have done a topic on this one, Mr. Batroid. I cannot speak some falsehood.
Dr. Matsanga, let me just say one more thing. You stated that Mr. H.H., our president, was your student at University of Birmingham. Funny enough, I was also a student at the University of Birmingham.
Yes, I know him. I know him
too.
Yes, so is it a problem that I know him?
No,
go and
you're
ask
wrong.
him that you spoke. You go and ask him that you spoke to Dr. Matsanga. If he tells you he doesn't know me, then you come back.
You stated that he spoke against Mr. Mwanawasa. That's not true. Mr. Mwanawasa
I didn't say Mwanawasa. I said Kiruba.
Chilua,
And if he did not speak against
he wasn't
Chilua,
a student.
then you are not
Mr.
a Zambian.
I
I
think you're
know
not telling the
politics of
truth here.
Zambia than you do. So I'm not going to have a ping pong with you. Either you
You're not telling
listen
the truth. Do not
and
lie about
no,
Zambia.
you are you going to call me a liar on my platform? Surely?
Yes, I will call you a liar on your platform.
Then you are very stupid and a very bad liar. Get out
Well,
on my
go fuck
platform if
yourself.
you think I'm lying. And I'm not going to exchange any more word. I'm very democratic. I'll leave you on the platform. But I've told you I'm not a liar. You're very stupid. Some of these Zambians and Africans don't want to listen. It is true. The agreement was signed. Miriam, can you read that agreement, please? That Congo and Tshisekedi and the other man signed. Meanwhile, let's go ahead as Miriam looks for that agreement for everybody to hear. Lucky, there is Jose. We have Jose Otto and Lucky. Those are the people.
Yeah,
Jose Otto, Nick, and Lucky. Then Mary, you have just come in. Da Vinci, you keep on going and coming, my dear. Eh?
There was
should I,
Brunella, Dr. Matsanga. Brunella has been lifting a hand up.
No, no
Who?
problem. Please let the doctor decide because he know me. I just want to add some little things so he know when to give me the space. Thank you.
You know,
I will just wait.
Brunera, I will give you the space, but let's have these other younger people.
Yeah.
Brunera and I are the veterans of this game. Let's
Of
have
course.
these
I
younger
know.
people.
I know exactly, and I
Jose,
trust you, and I'm happy to wait. Thank you so much.
yes, Jose
Thank you.
Otto and Lucky, then Mere, no, then Da Vinci, then Mere. That those. There's a man Nick. He will kill me up there.
yeah, I think
Uh,
that's so like, brother. I'll wait again. I'll go out your.
no. You come after Joseph.
Okay.
Then Lucky, then Da Vinci, then Mere. Thank you very much. Clear. Otto?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, go ahead. You have been given a platform, please.
Good afternoon, doctor. It's very interesting, this discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you again for this forum where we discuss some important things. I think what the argument between you and the ex-speaker is good, but it's kind of finding authentication about some information. It doesn't need quarreling. Doctor, like I said before, first of all, we are going to vote for you in the African Union. You have to, I think, take this forum where all these our leaders can also listen to our voices from this. The issue of American as a topic coming to Africa for geopolitical interest or for trade. I remember very recently, Macron, the president of France, went to Africa, and then he changed the tune that is now coming for trade and development, not for political issues. There is now a very big competition between the China, the Russia, and the West. And so now they're beginning to change that tune as the way they look at Africa, because they know that Africans are getting also beginning to understand what their deals are, you know. Like always you say, I want to agree with you about these issues of elections in Africa and the democracy in Africa, you know, and we cause chaos, overshadowing certain things that we are supposed to think concrete. We want you to take this information in the near future, by God's grace, as we wait for the election. Are you listening? Hello.
Yes, everybody is
Yeah,
listening to you, sir.
yeah. If you can try connect us with the African Union, in which we are going to vote you there, so that these people should also listen to what we are talking about. Americans are also
They are
changing that
on this
tune.
platform. They are here.
They are, they are
I've
also
seen
coming.
three of them, sir.
Right. They are also coming to compete because of those trade things. Because China and other countries like Russia, they're coming to Africa. They don't have any string attached. They don't tell you, we are going to give you this. You have to do this. You have to take our culture, democracy, for example, the democracy which is mixed up with culture. If we want us to give you this, your children should marry. A girl should marry a girl. A woman should marry a woman. You know, if you don't do that, we are not going to give you. It is no longer there. You know, democracy itself is dying now. These people are coming to compete because of resources. I was looking at it, watching here in Denmark, the headline when Kamala Harris was in Africa. After Macron, then Kamala Harris. Now they're saying there is now a new scramble for Africa in resources. Very soon, some other countries will follow from the West. So we have to also be careful in that case about just taking money. We are going to give billions of dollars to you. We're going to give this. These billions of dollars are going to strangle us again with other more debts. You know, African leaders should open their eyes. We don't just have to take money like that. We can still go on slowly and then we prosper in future. You know, and therefore we have to watch. And then the policies that they're coming with, the policies that are attached to those, whether we call it donation or charity thing, you know, if they're coming to Africa for development, let them do the development or investment. It should be a deal, like China is doing, deal. You know, these people are brainwashing us, especially in Africa, that all China's things are not good or they don't have a strong infrastructure. You know, it's just a kind of brainwashing. These people are doing great. And when they're coming from here, they should also do great things like China are doing. Just a deal. I am going to have my share on this, you are going to have your share on this. And that's all. African leaders must begin to look around. Another thing you talk about election. To me, I want to suggest that elections should not even be there, because if elections can bring turmoil in Africa, then it's not necessary. After election chaos, people are dying like this. Somebody was mentioned in Kenya. People are fighting because of hunger and this, and then people are dying. It's not good. There should be this Chinese principle, for example. I don't know how they determine their presidency. We can also take the policies in Africa. You see, ICC.
Control, hold the fire. Ladies and gentlemen, I've now found the agreement. And let me prove to the world that what I said is correct. The United States the USA has signed a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and Zambia to strengthen electric vehicle, EV, battery values chains. Under the terms of the MOU, the United States of America will support the commitment between DRC, Congo, and Zambia to develop jointly a supply chain for EV batteries, which is lithium and other minerals. And they will buy the chains, the other supply chain. Supply chain is here. And this was done on 19th January. The agreement was published 19th January 2023. The agreement was done on 15th, on 17th in White House, in State Department, between witnessed by Secretary of State and the Secretary of Trade of United States in America, between the two presidents, HH and Tshisekedi. My Zambian brother, you called me a names, you called me anything, you can Google. All of you have phones. Google DRC and Zambia sign cooperation agreement with US. It will come up, you will read English, and you will find that what Dr. Matanga was saying was correct. So are we, Miriam? I think that is exactly what you have also got out of, that is what you have got. That's what I've got. So this gentleman from, my brother from Zambia, I think you just went away too fast. I wish you had waited and listened, but I'll look out for you so that tomorrow in future you don't misinterpret things which are in black and white. There is also a cooperation, a military base, and this man is saying an office, a military base. An embassy is different from a military outpost. The military outpost is in Lusaka.
Command.
A command post. Yes, that's what they said. And this gentleman will say it was not a command post.
Dr. Matsanga, these are the angry children of Africa. They strive with this. That's what they live off. America lives off such angry young children of Africa. That's the capital to their missions in Africa. Someone will come here and defend an American voice within the space. Say, no, it's not true. And yet it's there.
And Pandari, we are not against American voice. We are simply saying the facts that we see that are making Africa become a laughing stock. And that Otto, land your platform. Miriam,
Yes, sir.
I've sent you the request. I've sent it. Just pick it and come up now.
I'm coming close, Doctor.
Yeah, close the show. Now, Otto, you
Yeah,
have seen why I was not very comfortable with the gentleman. Go ahead.
I know. I understand. I understand. Yeah, but I was like summarizing, Doctor. These things of the what is it? The donation they call it. They're giving us billions. Look at America. How many homeless people in America? How can you have your children homeless and then you claim to be supporting somebody outside? What will happen? At the end, you will have to pay bigger than what they give you. You know, it is like a poor man giving something to somebody else and then expecting a big return. So we have to be careful accepting these things from, of course, they shock us and then we begin to panic about aid. You know, the issues of the ICC, for example, to me, all Africans, in future, we pray for you, Doctor. You come to African Union, all these African countries should withdraw from ICC. So, in a nutshell, Americans are coming for trade. They are trying to change their tone. Because in Africa, now we are refusing. We are saying, no, if you bring democracy, don't mix the culture in it. You bring with your culture. I should behave the way you want first, then I will help you. It doesn't work like that. And that's why China is taking over and Russia. In any case, if it is necessary, then we also can even say no to their aid. It's possible. I want to thank you, Doctor, for this forum, and I need to land my mic here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bruno. Otto from Denmark. Let's move fast. Time is against us. We have a man called Nikki.
Yes, sir.
Nikki, are you still here?
I'm still here, Doctor. Thank you very much for
Yes.
for a wonderful space again. Again, I think I've been here so long, so I'm just going to buttress some of the things that a lot of people have said and kind of tease it out a bit. I think I was talking to a gentleman talking about about African interest. Where there's opportunities, and I think I posted something on your site. I think the gentleman was referencing how the U.S. American summit was a success. Again, I think we need to be careful what we determine as our success in the coming years. I mean, and because there's more. I mean, to go to Washington to take $50 billion over 3 years, where 88 billion leaves the continent every year, as you know, is not even a success. And I don't know why being a permanent invitee to a G20 summit is a strategic win. Not necessarily for me. If you want to talk about a strategic win, why don't they have the G20 on an African continent? I mean, it has nothing to do with anything. I think we need to be very careful in that. Just to be, and I think I want to remind people that no one. I mean, this is this is pretty much common knowledge in international relations. No one will advance their interest concurrently as they're advancing theirs, whether it's the US or China or Russia or the EU. Everyone has their interest, and their interest is paramount, not yours. So I think and again, maybe I'm getting this wrong. There's a misconception that a country will come and advance their interest, advancing theirs. No, historically, this has never happened, and it will never happen. So US will always come to advance their interests, whether it's China or Russia or whoever. Their interests will be paramount first. So if it overrides yours, that's what goes. They would not advance their interests while concurrently advancing theirs. No, it doesn't work that way. That's not international relations that I know. So we need to be very careful. I think, yes, if people keep saying that Africa has to unite, I think it's important to unite, but we also unite. When I mean unity, we need to call ourselves out and say, listen, if we do not have strong institutions in this country, if we don't have good infrastructural network, if all the individual nations are not dynamically and are not dynamic economically, you're not going to be able to unite enough to mount your formidable force to be able to come at your interests. These are some things that we need to be talking about. That we also have to mention. That I don't care whether you're 35 countries, if you're not individually sound, if your institution's extremely weak, pronounced weak, if institutional networks are no matter a free trade agreement within you will help you become stronger. The truth is, believe it or not, African continent does need resources. Trade. Nigeria, I'll give you for example, Nigeria that I know. Nigeria has borrowed a lot from China and has little to show for it. So all these things are something that we need to be talking about, that no one is going to advance your interests but you. But to be able to mount a formidable base, you have to be able to make sure that your fundamentals are correct. Because again,
Thank you, Nick. Okay. We are running out of time.
Okay, no problem.
This space is supposed to end at mark you on Sunday. The space ends at exactly 4 o'clock, okay. Between 2 and 4.
Okay.
So next time, come early. I want to give people chances.
No
those who have not spoken.
No problem. That's fine.
Land your mic. Land your mic now by showing your last
I think that's it. I'm done. I'll rest my case here. So thank you for the platform. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Miriam, can you say something as a co-host? Then you come to, no, you'll say last. Let's do Lucky, Da Vinci, and Mary. Then we rest our case. We come back to Brunel to give us our summary. And each of these people, 1 minute each. Please don't pass 1 minute. We need to leave this place by 15 past 4. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, did you say Mary?
Take it. Lucky is not coming. Okay. Take it.
Okay. Hello. I'm coming in.
Please. I am at work right now. Let me say a little bit something. Good morning, everybody. It's on 9 o'clock in the morning here. I'm trying to say a little bit. It's not as Africans, we heard everything what Western need from Africa, but we already know, and what can we do? I, as a person, as African, I'm looking for solution. Not like we already know what Western is needed from Africa. So, as the Africans, let's do our part too. What do we need? We need to stop first corruption in our country in Africa. Let's stop being a puppet for the Western, and we have to teach our people what they need, the Westerns. So if we improve this part, of course we're gonna be try to say something. I'm sorry, I am at work and then I'm a little bit interrupted, and then I will call you. I'm gonna I'll stop right here
Thank
because
you very
I'm
much.
interrupted.
Where are you from, Mary?
California.
No, but where in Africa are you from?
I am from Ethiopia and Eritrea. So let's
Okay,
learn
thank you
that, please. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that contribution. I think she has made a very serious point. She has struggled to come to work. This is the importance of this space or these spaces. We talk about our problems that affect us and we get solutions. She said we better look for solutions. We know exactly what these people want from us. Da Vinci,
Yes, I
before
would
I
like.
come. Oh, Lucky. Da Vinci, hold the
Yeah,
fire. Lucky
yeah.
will kill me.
Yeah,
Lucky,
good
go ahead.
afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. David. Please,
Good
I want to
afternoon.
come in. Yeah, afternoon. Please, this Africa Union, I'm just thinking if they can come together and then discuss about the problem of Africa. You know, places like Cameroon, where the Amazonian are fighting, and Nigeria, where Biafra are fighting. If they can be able to unite together and discuss the issue of Africa, then I put the Africa first before the world, before those people that colonized us, the US, the British government, and all of those things, so that we can have our own say. Not that anything that we want to do, we have to go back to America, go back to Britain, which is those people that colonize us and they give us nothing. Apart from killing our forefather, making them useless and all of those things. I just want them to come back together and discuss the issue of Africa. All the presidents of Africa, let them come together and discuss so that we can stand on our own. I don't know if you can do that for us, Dr. David. You know, I don't know if I'm coming out well.
Thank you very much. You know, Lucky, African Union is dead.
Okay.
It is dead, but moving a corpse. It is a dead body moving. It doesn't have any solution to all these problems. Instead, they go and ask France, the French, what can we do? African Union is really dead. We need to put in new energy in African Union, new direction.
Exactly.
So that we leave it for the future generation like you, the younger generation that are suffering in California, like Mary, working in California because there is war in Africa. The people who are in the Europe, who are called immigrants or migrants or whatever what they call them, those who are being shipped to be relocated to some other places. We need to help them. We need to have a better African Union. That's why some of us are saying, let's change the tactics. Let's have an African Union that defends Africa, not one that sells Africa to the Western Hemisphere. That is the position. That's the bottom line. Thank you very much, Lucky. Let me
Thank you very much. I believe I'll come a space again because there's not much time to tell, because I have a lot of things to say before concerning what is really going on in Africa. Maybe next time you are on, I can come in.
Tomorrow, 9:15, we shall have another space. 9:15 at night.
Okay, thank you very much.
Night East African time, which is 6:15 London time. We shall have a new topic again. Thank you. Da Vinci.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to thank Dr. Masanga for giving me this opportunity to air out my views, especially regarding the United States and its role in Africa. Over the time, the US has meddled in African politics, from toppling legitimate government, not just the US, but including the West, toppling legitimate government and instilling puppets that are meant to serve their own interests. Among the other things they do, in one of the early spaces, I was educated by Dr. Masanga that Uganda was feeding China at one given point. Among the tactics they use in enslaving us as Africans, despite us talking about unifying and fighting against them, is they come to us in terms of education, food, and security. I'll begin with food for reference and stuff like that. In one of the early spaces, I got to learn that Kibimba rice scheme was feeding China. And I was wondering, how is this really possible? We were feeding China, but our district or our brothers in Karamoja are facing famine and we can't feed them. Yet in Uganda, we have all types of climate, not all, but majority of types of climates, and very fertile soil to grow any type of food. Recently, I discovered something. They will tell you, as we are giving you aid, you should not focus on agriculture. So you stay in a state of famine where you need to beg for food. That is one incident. When Ethiopia talked about building the dam and recently Ethiopia has highly industrialized. They realize that once Africans get into the state of they are industrialized, they don't need to beg anything, because there was a time whereby in Uganda we were even importing a matchbox. You get it? They started up a proxy war in the Tigray region and all that. Thanks to God, everything got to stabilize. I'll talk from a stance of Uganda and how they divide us to fight one another. In Central African Republic, back then, Dr. Masanga, you're very much aware that as they were pursuing the LRA rebels, to be specific, Konyi, his movements were Uganda, Central African Republic, and South Sudan. In Central African Republic had been a hotbed for war throughout, with interference with them under the wings of France. When the Russians came in, I'm seeing since there is a lot of progress in the Central African Republic. People are no longer dying. Like it or not, even at family level, we shall have disagreement, right? What the West and what America does, it will pick out one side, arm it, and it will be used to oppress against the other. You know, power corrupts. You understand? So that is one of the techniques they've been using. I want to drive a point. I happen to study in a university where we have Sudanese, we have Congolese, and all that. I went to an international school in high school, and initially, I didn't have any problems with the Congolese. But of late, there is a way they look at you, you put in a group, and they are looking at you like, these people, yes, they are studying in Uganda, but they will be like, these people come to our country and start killing us for our minerals, which we don't benefit in. In 2019, when this COVID hoax was all over, in France, two doctors publicly said we can use Africa as Africans as lab rats to test out these vaccines if they work or not. I want to drive a point. In 2019, in Uganda,
Drive it quickly. Time is against us.
No, I'll reserve this. I think I have a lot. In 2019,
yes. Now
we had a
Da
medical.
Vinci. Tomorrow night you drive your point. Let's give a chance to Brunel, to Bashona, 1 minute, and then we come back to our main speakers. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute each. Just don't go beyond 1 minute. Bashona, what is banning you? There was a man from Zambia here who hosted Chamisa, and you allowed him to go free. So how are you?
I'm fine, Dr. Matsanga. How are you today?
Fine.
Right.
Use 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Dr. Matsanga will be very quick. I just want to remind you something, which is which was very close to home. In 2021, the G7 summit, which was held in Glasgow, the G7 summit, one of the resolution was that the Western world, which is being led by United States of America, should focus in Africa. One of the reasons why the Americans removed their military personnel from Middle East, it's not about Russia, Ukraine, but it's about Africa. It was strategically done in the sense that they want to counter the presence of the Chinese. They want to counter the presence of the Russians. If you now check what is it all about, you then realize it's all about minerals. It's all about influence in the global or geopolitics. It's all about who is with America or who is not with America. If you remember, a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, they come up with a funny law that says if any African country supports Russia, that country should be, punished or face economic sanctions, like what is happening in Zimbabwe today. And now you see their relationship with South Africa, especially the Americans, is getting sour day by day. And they are planning to grey list South Africa. And now they are talking of human rights abuse. They are now talking of sort of things. Why? It's because of they are using their old tactics of intimidating smaller nations, especially in Africa. But thank God, Dr. Matsanga, that we are now at the, you know, at the level whereby we should take advantage of the situation as Africans, or our African leaders should take advantage of what is happening geopolitically, because we need now then to shift the gear. Look what happened just now. India has signed a deal with Singapore to remove the use of US dollar in their trade agreements. So what are we doing us as Africans amongst ourselves? Is Uganda selling its product to Zimbabwe using Ugandan money, or we are using US dollar? These are the things that we need to start to think about, Dr. Matsanga. I thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope next time we are going to have a more dialogue into this, especially the trade amongst ourselves as Africans. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You came in late. You should come in early, like Pandari and others. Thank you very much. Now let me go to my main speakers of today. I give you 1 minute to summarize. Let me start with my sister from Italy, my Italian sister, half sister, Italian, the one I like most. Thank you very much, Bruna.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dave. I try to be very fast because there is so much to say. Let's go with one word: trust. As you can see in Europe, we did give the trust to the wrong people. Look what happened to us. They said that after the war, they needed to support us and to help us, and they put their boots, military boots, in our ground all over Europe, and they never left. They never left Europe because they were using and manipulating and infiltrating our system in every possible way. That much that now, in the last 20 years, almost every politician that we have in charge all over Europe, as you can see, have been groomed, have been betraying their own citizens to make the profits of their corporation so much that we have no energy anymore. Don't forget what they did to the Nord Stream. Those are fake friends. Those are fake allies. They promise you a lot. They don't bring you. You need to watch these things. When the people bring you military, when they want to put a lot of weapons, when they actually even bring their own terrorism, because this is what happened. The terrorism was moved from Middle East with big airplane, and you know it, all of you know it. They bring all these people on the north of Africa to destabilize the countries and to militarize the area. They don't do this for the good of the people. We have been through this. Watch what they do to their friends, fake friends, and you will see who is honest and who is not honest. It's very important because you are still in time. You are still in time to contain the damage that these people that did for 50 years divide et impera. They just divided constantly people. Look also in Africa. They keep on dividing you. They keep on fire, gaslighting every conflict just because while you are there fighting, you will not see what they're stealing to you. All these need to be finished. All these need to be handed. People are clever. One thing I wanted to say, Africa is not poor. I don't understand why when I hear people say, but we are poor. You're not poor. You're the richest continent in the world. You are very clever. I've been to international meetings with Africans, people that had the opportunity to study, and some of them even not so much, but they were super clever. You have all the power to stand up proud and say, I am Africans. I have the power in my days, and I can decide who can do the good for my country and my people and who cannot. Don't allow the people to put you down and to make you feel less than what you are. You are the most powerful people at the moment in the country. They all want your minerals. The electrical engine need your minerals. Without these minerals, all their future business will collapse. You are so rich, like you haven't been never before. Actually, you were. Actually, you always were. But what they really need to end is this colonialism idea, neo-colonialism, because colonialism never finished, never ended. It just changed, as you know. Now it's time not to bring you the fish and to feed you with the fish. Is the time that you take the fish, you take the net, and you teach to your own people how to use the net. Be very careful, Africa. Many citizens in the world, all the ones that were betrayed, are with you. We want you strong, and we love you, sisters and brothers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my sister. Thank you very much for that speech. Ladies and gentlemen, I think she deserves a clap from all of you on the platform. Those who love Africa, you need to clap for her. She has said it. Don't be given the fish. Take the fish and the net and go and fish yourself. Africans, please wake up from the statements coming from our sister. Our sister. I call her my sister because her views are like my views about all this. Since America went to Europe, it never left. It still have bases. You hear bases in Germany, you hear bases in Italy, you hear bases in London, in Kenya, in where? We are in chaos. Thank you very much. Next on the line for the final parting shot is Bento. Mr. Bento, are you there? If Mr. Bento is not alive, let's move to Mr. Lukwago. Your parting shot, Mr. Lukwago.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Actually, Doctor, for Africa to survive US hegemony, there is a new world order coming. My appeal to African countries to focus on championing for a new world order that does not follow dictates from the so-called superpower countries. Countries that dictate that drop your cultural values and embrace the Western cultural values. That will keep us in severe poverty. That will keep us in being called the third world countries. Okay? We should all African countries identify our comparative advantage. Per se in Uganda, our major economic activity is agriculture. Let us preserve our cultures and consider how much we spend in research for Africa to compete with those Western countries. Okay? To compete with China, that spends 20% of its budget in research. The reason as to why today it is the major hegemonic contender. China was never at the UN Security Council, Doctor. But whatever it did to economically grow up, politically and socially, is what forced those countries to call China at the UN Security Council. I rest my case.
Yes, today you are on fire. What did you eat? Palm Sunday. Very good. those, those are strong points you have made. What can we do as Africa to force these guys to call us on the same table, not under the same table? We are not eating on the table. We are eating under the table. We are eating fragments while the other world order takes the full cake. And we are the producers of the cake. That is the topic. Why are they coming now? Where's the money? Our African leaders, some of them want to be skinned alive because USA promised money. And now countries like Uganda might not even have that money. Lukwago, you are aware that some things a relationship is deteriorating between Uganda and the US because of some things that we cannot mention here. So, what is going to happen to us? Let's go and eat on the table, not under the table. We welcome the United States of America to come, but are you returning here for geopolitical situation of interest? Your interest, not our interest. Not our interest. Because when you go to buy a company and support the memorandum where you will produce lithium and produce electric vehicles, why? Because it is your interest. You are creating your jobs. This factory is not in Kenya. Canada, we understand. We have a bunch of leaders on the continent. I wanted you to come to speak, but you disappeared, Mr. Kananda. You better come back. We are not blaming America only. We have already blamed even the leaders in this country. We are blaming them. Some of them just go to this place to sign the agreements. Now, my last word. Gizam, you come always very late. Gizam, 1 minute. What do you want to say? Gizam Moses. You are taking long to have the microphone. Gizam.
Yes, Doctor.
Gizam Moses. Go ahead. Say something. Say something. Is your internet all right?
Yeah, my internet is all right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the topic is very touching and very important topic, and indeed we need to be discussing this topic every week at least. When you look at the US in Africa, there are two things that has happened. One, the US initially took Africa not for a continent that can contribute to the table, but as a continent that is there to receive the carcasses of what is eaten on the table. But again, the carcass of the delicious meal that is eaten on the table was always what comes from Africa and taken there and designed, and then the scrap of it is given back to Africa. Not until Obama came in, that's when they have the first African US summit, which was held in the US. It was the time that the Americans were getting to realize that Africa is not only there to receive, but Africa can contribute to global affairs, just like China is contributing today. China is still considered as a developing country, but China is contributing significantly to the economic growth of the world. Now, when you see the US now rushing coming to Africa, something has happened in a way that one, when the US talk about democracy, the US is not talking about a democracy that incorporates African values. The US feels they can just copy and paste what is happening there. African leaders should just copy and paste whatever is happening in the US, regardless to our cultures, regardless to our morals, regardless to everything African. This one has failed. They have tried in Afghanistan, it has failed. They have tried elsewhere, they have spent a lot of money, it has failed. We can always have a democracy which is African democracy. incorporating African values and African views or whatever is happening. When you look at the US starting calling your leader, this leader is a dictator, this leader is not respecting human rights, this leader is not doing this. Africans should learn that that is the leader of an African country. And that leader is not doing what the US want. We don't need to be Africans and governed by what another person wants. We need to be governed by what we want. Secondly, you see now that in the geopolitical running of the world, it has always been France and the Americans. Now the Russians are coming in, the Chinese have taken over business, and the US is now feeling like nobody needs them. The US doesn't do openly clean business where we know what you get and you know what we get. It has always been like, let us give you aid, let us give you money for free, let us give you loans, let us give you this. We don't need those loans. We don't need those donations. We need an Africa which is trading with the US as a partner. The US must start respecting African leaders as partners, not as recipients. We are human beings, we have the same brain. But also we have another challenge, which has been a gap, opening a gap for them. That has been bad politics, bad governance, dictatorship, conflict, wars. Whenever there are wars in the country, it opened that gap for these guys to come in. And when they come, they want to dictate terms. So our own weaknesses as Africans have made them to always infiltrate our politics. But they're now feeling it's getting too late because France is being chased everywhere. Okay, if France is being chased now, people are raising the Russian flag. Is Russia an option to the US? Is Russia a good replacement? What is Russia needing in Africa? What are Russians looking for? Is it not the same minerals? Maybe at some point, African leaders will feel comfortable dealing with Russia because Russia doesn't determine how you should be governed. These are the two things that is happening. So people are feeling the French has been so exploitative. Wherever Macron goes these days in Africa, he's being received with protest. Some few months back, a few weeks back in Congo, the president was telling him to his face, the president of DRC, it is not like you are always right. We are always right we are also right in our own context. You can't be right in Europe and you're also right in Africa. So the US is now seeing Africa as somebody who is trying to jump off the grip. And this is the right opportunity for Africa to start negotiating even one African currency or regional currencies. In East Africa, we have the Kenyan shilling, the Ugandan shilling. During wartime in South Sudan here, we were using Uganda shilling. You carry Uganda shilling, you buy things in Uganda, you come, you sell in Uganda shilling, and the currency was good. We were not looking for US dollars. If Kenyan shilling is the strongest currency, why are we not talking about interregional trade, where one currency is transacting in all the countries of the region? South African region can do the same. ECOWAS can do the same. You will realize that the US dollar will even lose value if Africans choose to do. Somebody was talking about India and Singapore entering a trade agreement where US dollar is not the mode of transaction. These are the examples that we can copy. Once these guys realize we can do by ourselves without their money, they will start begging us. But as long as we still need them, we still beg them, we will always continue to eat under the table. Thank you, Dr. Masanga.
Ladies and gentlemen, when Julius Caesar saw the crowd in the Senate, he looked around and came and sat. Little known to him that Julius Caesar was going to be murdered. He didn't know. But the wife, Sabrina, had said, please be careful. There are people who want to kill you. We have always been very strong believers of the Roman Empire. One of the emperors of the Roman Empire, Emperor Nero, looked at the sky and said, why is the sky never coming closer to me? And then some people told Emperor Nero that because we don't have enough fire that can reach the sky. Then Emperor Nero decided to burn the entire Rome. Brunero, am I wrong? Brunel, your Emperor Nero decided I teach European history. That's why I found this man, Emperor Nero, very interesting. He killed his wives, he killed his mother, he was in love with the mother. You know, very clear, very different things. Emperor Nero decided to burn Rome. He ordered for Rome to be put on fire. And after Rome was burned for weeks, but the smoke did not reach. After the smoke had cleared and the Rome was burned to earth, the smoke had not reached the sky, which Emperor Nero wanted. So Emperor Nero turns on the people who kept on praying, the Christians, who had come with this praying. When they pray, they look up in the sky and their arms in the sky. What is in the sky there? The mother had told the Emperor Nero that there is somebody more powerful than you. Emperor Nero just decided that he might not be able to finish. He might not find this person. Today is a Palm Sunday, therefore I end it there. You know what it is that Jesus decided to enter the kingdom of God through going to Jerusalem. He was from the kingdom, but he returned to the kingdom. The last act of Jesus Christ from the Palm Sunday, which is today in Jericho. If you have ever been to Israel, I have. From Jericho, when Jesus went on a donkey to drive out corruption. Why I'm emphasizing this point tonight and this evening and this morning, wherever you are, that let's drive out corruption that has made Africa, that Brunel talked about, that Bento talked about, that very many people here, Lukwago, talked about. Let's drive out corruption out of Africa. We have a lot of resources, but we have been corrupted and we corrupt ourselves. We misuse the resources. We sell them to the highest bidder through tenders and corruption, sign MOUs like the one of DRC, Congo, and Zambia. That gives away our resources, undermine each other. We work in silos instead of working in unity, all of us. Each one is in his own silo. Africa cannot move. Trisha, the rest of you, Trisha, I send greetings. I send all greetings to people of Africa on this Palm Sunday. Madame Brunel, I thank you. I thank all my speakers today that we shall live. And we don't want to be like Emperor Julius Caesar, who said, "Ete tu, ete tu, ete tu." He said, "My son, is it you stabbing me 23 times?" Brunel, just you speak Latin. Can you do some Latin for me? What?
Parlo italiano, Latin, not too much. You mean dividi et impera. It means divide and conquer. So
Yes.
this is what they're doing, the divide and conquer. Latin was a good knowledge.
Latin, when Emperor Julius Caesar was dying, he looked up and saw Brutus, who was his son, adopted son. He said, "Etetu, etetu, etetu." You have killed me. It should have not been you. So the people who are killing us are our next. I want you, all of you, as you leave this platform, go and check your photographs. Jose Oto, everybody, check your old photographs. The biggest enemy of yours is the one who has taken a photograph next to you. Go and check tonight and tomorrow, then don't say Matanga is a prophet. But the biggest enemy of Africa is all African leaders who have lost power. Have lost power through their closest friends. Achampong, General Achampong was a brother-in-law to Nkrumah. Idi Amin was a friend of Obote. Sankara was killed by Kampore, a deputy. Mobutu killed Patrice Lumumba, very good friends. Nimeri, you know what he did to the other Alimadi and others. In South Sudan, great friends who have taken photographs. Otto will tell you Riek Machar and Salva Kiir, they are on the battlefield. Everywhere in Africa where coups have taken place. The guy in Conakry, Guinea Conakry, the younger man who overthrew Conde, was his closest friend. The one in Burkina Faso, the closest friend. Let's see the one in Equatorial Guinea. Obianga killed his own uncle. The photographs. Go and look at the photographs. We do research on these things in Africa. I don't speak here of nothing. My research. Zimbabwe is not an exception. Look at the coups. Ramaphosa and Zuma, great friends. Zuma and Mbeki, great friends. Look at the one who overthrew the other. And look at what happened. So look at your photographs, those old photographs you took with your friends in the 80s, 90s, 2000, when you are just a schoolboy. The biggest enemy is like near your place. Is near you. Thank you very much. Joe, I can see you came, you kept quiet because you fear to talk about America. You listened today. But thank you very much for following me. Follow each other before you go away so that you don't miss any of my topics. And if you have topics that you suggest for us to talk, send them on my Twitter handle. I'll look after them and I will post them and we shall discuss them. Thank you very much on behalf of Matanga Twitter Space, the struggle for a better Africa. I wish you all the best on the Palm Sunday and the coming week of Easter. Let it be honored. Let it be used as an example. Trisha, God bless you, all of you in Washington, wherever you are. Brunel, thank you very much, my sister. I will look forward to inviting you for coffee in London. Then we can have very good coffee and a very serious discussion. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.